Good morning, everyone. I'm back in my warm clothes again. I think it's 31 degrees outside. Spring is pushing on the door, knocking on the door, but it's not getting in. I think this might be our last cold weekend. So we can hope for that. I prefer it warm. That's one of the reasons that we originally moved out here. I don't like cold. I grew up in it, but as I've gotten older, my thyroid is regulating to where I prefer hot versus cold. Okay. It is going to take forever to get through Corinthians. It is just a big book, and there's too much. I was looking at it, trying to figure out, can I speed track this? There's too much information. Paul was writing to a church that needed help, and it needed help across the board. Everything that they were doing, they needed help with, because they had people pushing back on it. They had the Jews pushing back. You got to be circumcised. You got to do all the Jewish laws like we do. You have the Romans and their Greeks and their idolatry, all this stuff going on, and people wanting to behave badly and publicly and not change and still be part of the church. And so Paul had a lot of work to do. They apparently also wrote to him asking him questions about things. And so that's what this next one is. We're going to be continuing on in chapter 7. It's like 16 chapters. We're barely halfway through. This is a long series. So I'm going to title this one the way my commentary Bible does, The Principles for Marriage. And I'm going to title that up on the main page, even though it's continuing on with 1 Corinthians. And I apologize because my previous video, my Corinthians 4, instead of happening on the next day, came out the same day. I must have been tired when I did that because I was not noticing the date didn't change. And my last one would have been a commentary because I was trying to I hadn't figured out what I wanted to do yet. God knows what I'm supposed to do. He knows everything I'm supposed to do. I hadn't gotten the message yet. I didn't get the memo. We need God to sign up for Twitter or something or X, so we can keep up with what's going on. Okay, so I'm not going to talk new stuff today. We're just going to jump right in because this is a big chapter. So 1 Corinthians chapter 7. Now concerning the things whereof you wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. If you can stay single, do it. You're better off that way because God wants people to be able to help in the ministry. If you're married, you're split in where you can put your attention. So that's why the priests chose not to be married. And of course that worked out so well for them, didn't it? That we have offshoots of the Catholic Church where priests are allowed to get married because they saw that it couldn't happen. So if we read in 2, nevertheless to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have their own husband. I suppose this is not good for the Mormons in Utah, because it's just 1 and 1. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise the wife unto the husband. Men seem to remember one verse out of the entire Bible, that a woman is supposed to be subservient to the man. They remember that. They don't remember anything else out of the Bible. And women get all upset over the fact that that's all they remember, because they don't want to be subservient to man, because the man is not doing his side of the bargain. Women should want to be subservient to the man if the man is acting like Christ. you would want to be. How many men act like Christ? Well, first off, no man acts like Christ to the point where he can say that I can be just like Christ, a substitute. No. We strive to act like him and fail miserably, unfortunately, at it. Until we get off this planet, it's our nature and we can't help it. The wife has not power over her own body, but the husband likewise also. Husband has no power over his body, but the wife. Defraud you not one another, except it be with consent for a time, that you may give yourself to fasting and prayer. Come together, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinent. If you refuse sex for a period of time for fasting and prayer, that's okay, but don't deny your partner for a long period of time, lest temptation come in. As it said, if you can remain single. Now it says if a man can remain single, the same goes for a woman. If anybody can remain single, then you can focus on the Lord. Obviously, if everyone remained single, there'd be no children and there'd be no continuation. This is for those that can do this. And we're finding out, frankly, that those that set their life that way, whether it be the priests or the nuns, many times it is not possible. It's not followed. So the Catholic Church should actually allow priests to marry. They prefer not, but if you have to, get married. They should allow that. They allow all kinds of they allow gay lifestyles now, according to the Pope, but they don't allow male priests to get married. Satan is really crafty about what he does. So to avoid being tempted by Satan, sex in marriage is a requirement, it seems like. And no matter how old you get, for a male anyway, I can testify to that, the drive does not go away. I suppose as long as you've got testosterone pumping in your body as a male, it doesn't go away. But I speak this by permission and not of commandment. Okay, so this is a two-way street here. But I would rather that men were even as I myself, but every man hath his proper gift of God, one after his manner and another after that. So everyone's different when it comes to this type of a situation, whether you get married or not, whether you stay single and not fornicate, that is an individual basis. What is Kitty doing? Oh, I didn't lock Kitty up, and he was digging in the trash. I had ham and eggs this morning for breakfast. I'm going to stop for a second, and I'm back. I think I just got to lock him up to start off with. He was not behaving badly and not running around, but digging in the trash is still childlike and a distraction, especially because the trash can's right next to me, the little one in here. I've got a bigger one, but that's right here. Anyway, continuing on, chapter 7, verse 8, I say, therefore, to the unmarried and the widows, it is good for them that they abide even as I. It's thought that Paul was married, but apparently they lived in separate countries as he traveled a lot. But if they cannot contain, let them marry, for it is better to marry than to burn. If you can't control yourself, get married. And the results of that would be a family. You've got the responsibility to go along with the marriage. Being subservient to the wife and husband, to the wife and wife to the husband, and the possibility of kids. You don't get married just for sex. You get married for companionship. Too many people get married for the former reason only, and quite frankly, after a while, it's not what it's cracked up to be. It loses a lot of its attraction. Because it's nice getting into a new car when you drive it, but getting into a used car, it doesn't have the same appeal, does it? So men wonder. Some women do, but most women don't. It depends the circles you hang out with as a whole. And unto the married I command you that not I, but the Lord, let not the wife depart from the husband. But if she depart, let her remain unmarried and be reconciled to her, or be reconciled to her husband. And let the husband not put away his wife. But to the rest I speak, not of the Lord. If any brother has a wife that believeth not, and she be pleased to dwell with him, let him not put away. In other words, if you're not married, if you're married and you don't have the same belief in Jesus, that's not a reason to separate, as long as there's not massive sin going on because of that. You can be a good husband or wife and not be. It talks about the wife specifically here, but it can go both ways. And the woman which has a husband that believeth not, see, I'm getting into I just preempted that, and if he be pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. For the unbelieving husband and the unbelieving wife is sanctioned by the husband. Else were your children unclean, but now they are holy. In other words, the marriage protects the children while they're children. When they cease to be children, they're now adults and they're on their own. Teach them in the way, and they will not depart from it in their old age. It doesn't say they won't depart from it for a short while. How many people have raised kids and have them leave and abandon all the things that they were taught, but come back to it when they're old? But if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases, but God hath called us to peace. For what knowest thou, O wife, whether thou shalt save thy husband, or thou, O man, whether thou shalt save thy wife? But as God has distributed to every man, as the Lord has called everyone, so let him walk, and so ordain I in all churches. So, you know how to behave. You know what your requirements are in a marriage. You've got to live up to that. Doesn't matter whether you feel like it or not. It's highly recommended. It's not a commandment, but it's highly recommended that you keep your marriage together properly. If any man called being is any man called being circumcised, let him not become uncircumcised. I don't know how you would reverse that. Is any call in uncircumcision, let him not be circumcised. So, if you are, don't worry about it. If you're not, don't worry about it. Circumcision is nothing, and uncircumcision is nothing, but the keeping of the commandments of God. Let every man abide in the same calling where he was called. In all things, no matter what it is, God has his rules. God's not going to ask you to break his rules. But if there's an option, then you got to be open to what God would have you to do. We don't have step-by-step instructions in life other than to stay close to God throughout your life, and God will direct your paths. But it doesn't say what the paths are, because every one of us is unique. Art thou called being a servant? Care not for it. But if thou mayest be free, use it too. Whether you're free or slave. And you can be a slave to money, you can be a slave to your job, you can be a slave to a number of different things. So It's, we've had slavery that was legal in this country, and now it no longer is. They've gotten smarter over age, but they've still used the term slavery to keep control. And we've been a slave to this government. The government's supposed to be working for us. It turns out we were working for them. And they were spending our money like drunken sailors. And I've seen drunken sailors. For he that is called in the Lord, being a servant, is the Lord's freeman. Likewise, also he that is called is being free in Christ's servant. So even though we're servants of God, we're still free. You are bought with a price, but not ye the servants of men. So we're servants to God, not to man. Brethren, let every man wherein he is called therein abide with God. Now concerning virgins, I have no commandment of the Lord, yet I give you my judgment as one who has obtained mercy of the Lord to be faithful. I suppose therefore that it is good for the present distress. I say that it is good for a man, so be it. Whatever you choose. You can choose to be single. You can choose to be married. But you've got to commit to both of them. Whichever one you choose, you've got to commit to. You can't be half married like you cannot be half pregnant. You've got to commit to whichever choice you take. Art thou bound to a wife? Seek not to be loosed. If you're married, don't get divorced just so you can be single and do what the single people do. That's not the right way. Art thou loosed from a wife? Seek not a new wife. But if thou marry, thou hast not sinned. And if a virgin marry, she has not sinned. Nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh. But I spare you. But this I say, brethren, the time is short. Paul is writing 2,000 years ago that the time is short, because they were in the last days, as it was called. It's the days after Jesus. It remaineth that both they have wives be as though they have none. And they that weep as though they weep not. In other words, keep focused on God no matter what your situation is. And they that weep that they weep not, and they that rejoice as though they rejoice not, and they that buy as though they possess not, and they that use this world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passes away. Where your focus is the most important thing. Focus on the world, that's the most important thing to you. Keep up with your neighbors, they get a new car, you got to get a new car. If that's your focus, your reward will be down here. And you can still be a Christian and miss the mark of doing what God wants you to do. But I would have you without carefulness. He that is unmarried careth for the things that belong to the Lord. He may please the Lord. But he that is married careth for the things that are of the world, how he may please his wife. So that's kind of the talk about this. There's a division of attention. You're required to take care of and please your wife, but you're also required to please God. So you've got to split your attention. Now you should start with God, please your wife, go back and check in with God, please, you got to go back to God constantly because you're not focused on him all the time. There's a difference between a wife and a virgin. An unmarried woman careth for the things of the Lord, that she may be holy both in body and in spirit. But she that is married careth for things of the world, how she may please her husband. So you can see it applies to both sexes. It doesn't matter. If you're married, you're divided in your attention. That's why priests choose to not marry, nuns choose to not marry. Does it work? Not for everybody. And this I speak for your own profit, that I may cast a snare upon you for that which is comely, that you may attend upon the Lord without distraction. Squirrel, cat, whatever your distraction is, put it aside while you're focusing on the Lord. But if any man think that he behaveth himself uncomely towards his virgin, if she pass the flower of her age, and need so require, let him do what he will. He may sinneth not, let them marry. So if you two single people are never been married and they decided at their old age to get married, every once in a while you see an old couple getting married. Now, chances are they've been married before, and maybe their husband's wife passed away. Maybe they divorced years before. Maybe they've had multiple. We have the woman at the well. God can deal with any situation. We're talking ideals here. What's best? If you're past the best, then you settle for second best, if that's what is awaiting you. Nevertheless, he that standeth fast in his heart, having no necessity, but hath power over his own will, and has so decreed in his heart that he will keep his virgin, doeth well. So in other words, if you can fight the urge, so then he that giveth her in marriage doth well, but he that giveth her not in marriage doeth better. So you can have male and female friends if you don't act like you're married. The wife is bound by the law as long as her husband liveth, but if her husband is dead, she is at liberty to be married to whom she will. But, of course, only in the Lord. Everything we do should be in the Lord. But she is happy if she so abide after my judgment. I think that I have the Spirit of God. So, if you're a widow or widower, whichever sex, it doesn't matter. If you choose not to get married, that's fine. You'd be better off. However, if you can't, it's okay. Get married again. Okay, how long have I been talking? I've covered this subject pretty well, but it's obvious that the start of this, in order to avoid fornication, in order to avoid having sex out of wedlock, if you have to get married, get married. But marriage requires commitment, and it's a full-time commitment, and you don't go so far into your marriage and say, okay, I've done everything I have to do, I'm done, I can coast the rest. No, it's all the way to the end. We see couples that have been married for 40, 50, 60 years and are amazed, how do they do this? You think, do they never fight? No. Everyone fights. When you got two people together, they're going to fight. It's how you resolve the conflict is the key. Whenever you're I've had debate class in school. You can debate a subject without attacking the other person. You're not allowed to belittle the other person when you're debating a situation. You got to argue the point from the merits of the point, whatever the point is. You can't. Well, you're too stupid to understand. You can't say stuff like that. Doesn't matter who you are. What have I got? I don't know what this is. I have to watch the time. I'm up earlier than I normally am. It's just now 6:30. I have to make sure the gate is open at 7. 7 and 10 are my time frames on the gate. In the morning, with the exception of last Sunday, I guess, the gate's always open. Because we have people that are staying here, and they may stay here for a month, but they still have a job. They want to get out so bad that they will tow their trailer in here and stay in it, but still go to work. Obviously, you can't work. You can't come camp here if you work in South Georgia or in Florida or something. That would be dumb. But they work locally within driving distance anyway. Okay. Let me get that to go away. Okay, so what I'm going to do is sort of wrap it up here. And the next one we're going to do is food offered to idols. The Jews have a long established offering food to God, basically. Cows, sheep, doves, whatever you can afford, you take to the priests and they offer for your sin, to cover it, not to get rid of it. So the idea of offering food to idols is not strange to them, so they don't push it away. And Paul will tell them that, for one, it doesn't matter if you eat food offered to idols, but if somebody sees you and is offended, don't do it. Just don't tell anybody. It's okay. The idol doesn't matter because the idol is nothing. It's a piece of inanimate object, whatever it is. Carved ivory, carved wood, carved whatever. It's an idol. It doesn't matter. But if it bothers somebody, don't do it. Peter gets into that because he has his vision. So tomorrow's class will be talking about that. That's chapter 8. 8's not very big. So we may do 8 and 9 tomorrow. 9's a bit bigger. Yeah. Like I said, there's 16 chapters in this? I'm just scrolling as fast as I can trying to go through this. And it's just taken forever. So there's nothing in the world, in the word, that is so minor that you can just fly over it. Everything in here is helpful. There are verses that talk about that. If you know them, drop them in a comment. I know them, but I'm not going to help you. If you know them, drop them in the comment. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. If I don't know the immediate answer, I will look it up. Why is the graphics on that bad? Anyhow, yeah, so there's 16 chapters. They're here for me to see and to teach from. So tomorrow, food offered to idols. The bottom line to marriage is that the commitment never ends long past the honeymoon. There are people that can regenerate the honeymoon feeling, but it's got to be a two-way street. You've got to both want to do that. There are people that, after they've been married for a long time, redo their vows to make sure that they're aware of it. The divorce rate is extremely high, and it shouldn't be. And then, of course, people get remarried. Actors are known for getting remarried a lot. Now, there's some that have stayed together. Paul Newman and Joan Woodward have been together forever. There are couples that have been together. Tom Hanks and his wife have been together. There are people that are married for a long time from Hollywood. But actors, who are you marrying when you get married if you're marrying an actor? Are you marrying one of their characters that they're good at portraying? Or are you marrying the person? That's the problem with Hollywood marriages. People that are used to playing a part. You can play the part of a husband, but you're not really a husband, and vice versa. And everybody's Tinseltown is always, everybody's always looking nice for the camera. It's an attraction. Don't covet your other actors. All right, time to wrap it up. If you're in a marriage, pray for each other constantly. It's a lot of work to stay married. Work that you don't realize when you get married. It is a lot of work. It takes time. It takes... I could have said something and I didn't. or I should have said something more and I didn't. It can go both ways. Saying I love you is in itself just a sentence. Do you mean it? We can never love fully like Christ loves, but men are supposed to love like Christ loves us. That's a lofty goal that we should strive for, but we're never going to attain. And the idea of the husband going to work, coming home, sitting in his easy chair and not lifting a finger the rest of the time, no, that's the reason why marriage doesn't work. If you're working so hard that you can't go home because you're making money so you can buy all the things you got, if you're working so hard that all you can do is collapse when you get home, you're working too hard. You have anybody who's married and they're working has two jobs. You have to work home and you have to work your regular job. Both of them are important. You can't neglect one for the other. You can be fired from a job for not working. You can be fired from a marriage for not working. You've got to focus on both. You can't focus only on one. And the wife's job is not in the kitchen. It just so happens that most wives in the tradition didn't work with the job because she had kids to raise. And raising kids is a job. It's actually a bigger job. And one of the reasons that you need to take her out a lot and get her away from the kids, whether you find a babysitter or a parent to watch the kids, she needs a break. Or he needs a break, whatever the case may be. You've got to love one another truly to make it work. And they say, don't go to bed angry. Well, if you go to bed angry, you wake up angry. You're better off to drop it and ask for forgiveness or give forgiveness and move on. Is the battle, you got to win the war. The battles don't matter as much if you don't win the war. If you're fighting over something, the biggest problem people that get married fight over is money. If the wife is not working, she needs two allowances, a family allowance and a personal allowance. If you're both working, you should pool your money. Even Dave Ramsey says that. Pool your money. Everything you buy should, if you buy something more than, I don't know, $50, you should get consent before you spend the money, because you're spending both of your monies. Frankly, if you spend $1 on something, you should check first with God that it's okay to spend $1. It's His money that we're actually spending. So check with God before you do anything, including spending money. I've done that many times. I think I need something, and I order it or I go get it, and then I find out that I don't need it because I didn't check in first. It can be a problem. All right, until we meet in the clouds, God bless. Now the sun is barely up. No wind, which is a big change from yesterday. And it's cold this morning, close to 30. There's one lone goose out there eating along the water's edge. Have a beautiful day, everyone. Blessings.